Manufacturing union says Toyota's decision to slash 350 jobs goes against a workplace agreement made last year. Toyota made the announcement yesterday, citing high manufacturing costs, a decline in exports and the strong Australian dollar. Ian Jones is the National Secretary of the Vehicles Division of the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union, and he joins us now from St Leonards. Ian, thanks very much for your time this morning. Do you believe that these job cuts could have been avoided?
No, I think that the job cuts are as a consequence of the impact that the high Aussie dollar is having upon manufacturing industry. Toyota has historically been quite a good company. They've carried labour right throughout the GFC and beyond, and I think it's got to a point now with the Aussie, pardon me, with the Aussie dollar that the impact upon them as a company is too high, and therefore they're seeking to tailor their workforce accordingly. What isn't acceptable in that, of course, is the fact that they have moved directly through the announcement yesterday towards a compulsory redundancy, and that is, in our view, unacceptable.
And why is that?
Well, it's unacceptable because we haven't had a compulsory redundancy other than a plant closure in automotive manufacturing for in excess of 20 years. We would think normally that we would move to a voluntary arrangement, which is the custom and practice at Toyota and every other car manufacturer, and has been the case for a very long time. At Ford, they sought to reduce some time ago their workforce by around about 3,000. They spoke to their unions, and the unions managed that process without one day of industrial action. So we think that if there are other processes more acceptable that deliver the same outcome, then that's where we should be going.
How do you feel about the commentary since yesterday's announcement was made about the future of Toyota and the motor manufacturing industry in Australia?
Look, I think Toyota's got a very good future in Australia. It manufactures a great product. It's got the hybrid here thanks to good government policy. It's managing its way through difficult times, as is the industry. But I would point out that what we have at the moment is a government, pardon me, is a government that is committed to manufacturing industry. We have a government that is committed to automotive manufacturing continuing in this country, and we have a minister that is devoted to ensuring that jobs remain. What we don't have is an opposition that has that same level of commitment. They would take $500 million out of the automotive industry, closing, as a consequence, a number of manufacturers. The state government, for example, talk about their support for manufacturing industry, but only recently increased stamp duty on only Australian manufactured product. So we would say that the opposition and the government in Victoria need to lift their game if they want to see manufacturing continue in this country.
Now, Max Yasuda is the president of Toyota in Australia. In his statement yesterday, he didn't really talk too much about the subsidies from the government. It was more about the causes, including the high Australian dollar. He doesn't see he's not making plans for that Toyota export side of things beyond another 5 years, and certainly not making any plans. What can your union do to plan the future for workers in those circumstances?
Well, all car manufacturers review their position every 5 years or so, so there's nothing new in what Max is saying. But Max is an outstanding president, and we're fortunate that all of the presidents within the car manufacturing industry at the moment are committed to the Australian operations. Max's position we deal with as it comes along every 5 years. We would work with Toyota the same as we work with Ford, the same as we work with General Motors, and work with the federal government to ensure that the industry remains viable. And we saw that level of cooperation result in the reopening, if you like, of the Geelong facility for Ford when that was destined for closure. So the reality is that where we work together, we can produce great results. Where we don't, then of course things fall apart.
Now, and we know that there might be a flow-on effect in the components industry as well. What's going to happen now to the 350 workers that will go from Toyota and more broadly those other jobs that will be lost?
Well, in the context of the 350 that exit Toyota once we've had those discussions in the near future. Hopefully that will coincide with the job creation that is about to take place as a consequence of the investment that's now taking place at Ford. The policy position that was adopted by Ford with the assistance of the federal government is creating 300 to 400 jobs in that company, which would be more than enough to soak up the 350 redundancies that we're going to experience at Toyota. So that could mean that the workers about to be made redundant walk straight out of Toyota and potentially straight into Ford. That would be a great thing. In the context of the components sector, it's the accepted norm that for every one job lost within direct automotive manufacturing, there is a flow-on effect of 3 across the broader economy. Excuse me for one minute.
That's
across
okay.
the broader economy.
Yep. We can still hear you, and we appreciate your thoughts this morning. Ian Jones, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.